let's get started with your new camera. The first thing we're going to do is just get your camera unboxed, get the batteries charged, and update the firmware so that you can get the latest features for the Hero 9 Black. With the Hero 9 Black, GoPro hooked us up with this nice travel case, which is a lot better than the plastic cases that the other GoPros used to come in. I'm just going to open up the case and show you what comes in the kit, and then we'll go through all of these things later as we move through the video. This here is the Hero 9 Black camera, of course, with a new front screen. This is the USB cable for charging your camera. This here is a curved adhesive mount. This is a thumb screw which you use for mounting your camera to different mounts, and I'll show you that when we get into the mounting section. This is the bigger battery with the Hero 9 Black, which means that you get more filming time out of a single battery, which is great news. And then this is the mounting buckle, which you use to attach to certain mounts. But I'll show you that when we talk about mounting. This here is just some paperwork that talks about GoPro's subscription plan, which you can check out. It's pretty cool. It's also quick getting started and some legal stuff. You can just set that to the side. And then this here obviously is the GoPro Hero 9 Black camera. Let's just remove all this packaging from it. So you can slide off this plastic sleeve here. And then you can also remove all of these screen protectors. There's one on the lens, one on the front screen, and also one on the back display screen. You can remove this recyclable case from the travel case here and just recycle that. And now your travel case is ready to go, and it's a cool little case you can carry with you on your adventures. Now go ahead and pull out the battery and USB cable so that we can get the camera charged. The GoPro battery comes with a partial charge, but you want to charge it completely before we get the camera updated. You're also going to need a micro SD card. Some of the kits come with a micro SD card and some of them don't. You can just pull down on the tab below and then lift the door up. Now this door does come off. It's removable if you're using the media mod or another replacement door. You just kind of pull it straight off to get it to come off. And then when you want to snap it back on, this little clasp goes on the metal hinge there and it snaps back in place. But you don't really need to remove that, so just try to keep it on there for now. So the micro SD card goes in this little slot here on the side of the battery compartment. Just take the micro SD card with the text facing towards the back of the camera and snap it down into that little slot there. You got to kind of push it down with your fingernail so it's flush with the battery compartment. And then take the battery, so the GoPro logo on the battery is facing the front of the camera, and put it all the way down into the battery compartment slot. It should be flush there on the top. Now we're going to charge the camera by using the USB cable. So take the USB-C in, which is the small end of the USB cable, and put it into the port here underneath the battery. Then take the other end of the cable and plug it into a USB power source. You can use a computer, a wall charger, or a USB power pack. You just want to make sure that the wall charger or power pack has a voltage of 5 volt and 1 amp. So GoPro officially says to use a 5 volt 1 amp, but I've used a lot of higher powered chargers and not had any problems. But just so you know, if you do ruin your battery, it won't be covered by warranty. Battery charger for the Hero 9 Black is definitely a good way to go because you can charge 2 batteries that are outside of the camera and have those ready to go as backup. With this new bigger battery, you'll get at least 90 minutes of recording time, even at the highest resolution. And as you go to lower resolutions, you'll get even more recording time. So you can definitely make it through the day with a couple of batteries minimum. So once the light's turned off, you can just remove the USB cable and close this side door here. Just push it down flush to the camera and make sure this little tab closes all the way so you don't see any red. You want to make sure this door stays closed because it keeps your camera waterproof. If that door is open, that's the easiest way for water to get in your camera and ruin the camera. But as long as this door is closed, your camera is waterproof down to 33 feet without any extra case. Now that the battery is charged, you can push the mode button here on the side of the camera to turn the camera on. And we'll do a few setup items. Once it starts up, it's going to ask you what language you want to use. So just select your language and tap the language or the check mark. Then you can just agree to the legal stuff and turn on GPS. And then it's going to go into pairing mode. So it's going to ask you to pair to the GoPro app. You don't have to use the GoPro app. You can also update it manually through GoPro's site, but it's much easier to use the GoPro app. So just go to the App Store on your phone or tablet and download the GoPro app. It looks like this and it's free. Once you've downloaded the app, just open it up and your camera is already in pairing mode. So you can go through these few intro screens. So once you get through these few intro screens, tap on the camera icon here in the bottom left corner. That's going to allow you to start looking for your camera. So you can just tap on add a camera and it should find your camera because your camera is already in pairing mode. It says here we found your camera. Tap on connect camera and it's going to connect. And then once it connects, it's going to prompt you to update the firmware. You definitely want to update the camera's firmware so you can get all of the latest features from this camera. Anytime you see an update available, I highly recommend updating the camera's firmware because it's going to add newer features that GoPro is incorporating into this camera. And once that download is complete, you can tap on update camera. The GoPro app is going to tell you what features are available in that firmware update. You can tap update and then you can accept and continue on the legal terms. And now the GoPro app is going to begin transferring those update files over to your camera's micro SD card. When you see a check mark on both the camera's touchscreen and on the phone, your camera update is complete and your Hero 9 Black is updated with the latest firmware. Now that your camera is set up and charged, I'm going to give you a little tour around the camera so you can get familiar with the Hero 9 Black. This here is the new front display screen on the Hero 9 Black, which I'm sure you're excited to use. And I'll show you the different options for that when we go through this camera tour here. GoPro brought back the removable lens cover on the Hero 9 Black, which is great news because if you damage your lens cover, you can remove that. You can also remove it if you want to change lenses or add filters. So you can just take this off, add on the max lens or a different filter such as the shutter, and your camera is ready to go. This button here on the top with the red circle is the shutter button that you use to start and stop recording or to take photos. This here on the side of the camera is the power and mode button. So you can press that to turn on your camera or turn off your camera. You can also press it to switch modes. This here is a microphone drain, so don't actually try to open this. This just allows water to drain out from the microphones after you've been in the water. And you've learned about this side door already, which holds the battery and micro SD card as well as the USB port. There are two LED lights which light up when you record videos or take photos and also while you're charging your camera. These here are called the mounting fingers, which you can fold down when you want to mount your GoPro, but we'll talk about that more when we get into the mounting section. And on the back here is the display screen, which you use to change all of your camera's settings and preferences. I'll give you a tour of that now. If your camera is not already turned on, press the side power mode button and your camera will power on. And I'll just show you what all the icons on this screen mean. So this icon here just shows you a percentage of battery that's remaining. These icons here, how you switch different modes between video, photo, and time-lapse mode. So the icon in the middle is the video camera icon. And if you swipe over, you can go over to photo mode. And if you swipe all the way over to the other side, you can get over to time-lapse mode. And that's all the different time-lapse modes within that icon. And I'll swipe back over to video just so we can start at the main home screen here. You can also press the mode button here on the side to scroll through the modes. And I'll scroll back to video mode again. This icon here shows how much recording time is left on your micro SD card at the current resolution. So you can see here we're recording at the standard preset, which is just 1080p, so it's kind of low resolution. Once you step that up to 4 or 5K, the amount of storage you can fit on your micro SD card is going to be reduced, obviously. These icons here are the on-screen shortcuts, and they're customizable with this preset here in the middle. So right here it's at the standard preset, and these on-screen shortcuts are shown. But when you change that preset, the icons will change also for the on-screen shortcuts. On-screen shortcuts are just an easy way to change some of the key settings without having to go into the settings menu. And the preset icon here in the middle that says standard is just a batch of your favorite settings that you can switch between easily. So if you want to go from 4K over to 1080, you can just save a different batch of settings. If you tap on that preset icon in the middle, you'll see a list of all the other presets available. And if you want to use a different preset, you just tap on that preset name and you'll now be in a completely different batch of settings. So it's a really convenient way to switch your settings when you're out there videoing or taking photos. From the main screen, if you hold down on the preset, you can go straight into the settings menu for that preset. Any settings that you do change will be saved to that preset. You can always go back in and change them, but they will be saved until the next time you use it. If you want to go up and step up the resolution and tap into, say, the 5K resolution on the Hero 9 Black, just tap on that resolution frames per second, res FPS, and you'll see the resolutions up here on the top and the frames per second down on the bottom. And then you can go into 5K or whatever resolution you want to use. But I recommend saving those in different presets so you can just switch resolutions by changing presets instead of by going in and changing settings. This one here is slow motion with a little snail, and you can just use that to switch frame rates. So depending on what resolution you're in, it'll double the frame rate. Right now we're in 1080 at 60 frames per second. So if you tap that slow motion icon, it's going to double the frame rate to 120 frames a second, which means that you can get better slow motion. So it's an easy way to switch back and forth. This icon here is to change digital lenses, which is going to change the look of your video frame. So if you slide it all the way to the top, you go up to Super View, which is the widest field of view that you can get with your camera. And then it goes down to Wide, which is the standard wide angle. Then you've got Linear with less wide angle distortion. It'll straighten that horizon line. Then you've got Linear plus horizon leveling, which will actually keep the horizon level as you move. So that's really cool for handheld footage. The last lens down at the bottom is called Narrow, which is basically a zoomed in view of linear. And once you select your lens, then you can just tap the screen for that option to go away, and your lens will be set. This over here is Hyper Smooth Boost, which just adds more stabilization to your Hyper Smooth, which is great for handheld shots. It also zooms in a little bit. I won't go fully into depth with that now, but it's definitely great to check out. And also this is touch zoom, so depending on your resolution, you can zoom in and out. The higher resolution, you can't zoom in as far. So that's just a way to zoom in and out with the digital lens. Switch over to photo or time lapse, you're actually changing the way that you record those photos and videos. So if you swipe over to photo mode and tap on the photo preset, you'll see there's a list of other photo presets here. These different photo presets actually change the way that you capture your photos. So the photo preset basically is your standard photo mode where you take one photo with the press of a shutter button. This mode allows you to take super high resolution single shot photos basically. There is a way to take continuous photos too, but for the most part you use it to take single photos. And you can also change your output, so you can have raw photos or super photo, etc., just to enhance those photos. Live burst is basically taking a batch of 90 photos over 3 seconds. So it'll actually take photos 1.5 seconds before you press that shutter button when you're in live burst mode. Burst is an awesome photo mode that takes a speedy batch of photos. You can take up to 25 photos in 1 second. Night photo is the fourth photo preset, which is an awesome way to take long exposure night shots too. Now if you swipe over to the time-lapse modes, these are the different ways you can capture a time-lapse. Time-lapses are a great addition to your videos or photos, so you definitely want to tap into the power of these settings. There's 3 different presets here that are also customizable. There's time warp, which is great for hyperlapses or moving time lapses because it's stabilized. You can also use time lapse for longer time lapses or to take photos. And there's also night lapse mode, which you can take a batch of photos or videos with long exposure, which are really cool. So you definitely want to dive into that. After you've recorded a video, you can just swipe up from the bottom of the screen to see your last recorded media. And you'll see here, this is the video. This is a video I recorded. There's a few icons down at the bottom here. There's delete, you can delete your file. You can also play it back in slow motion if you recorded it at a slow motion frame rate, but you'll still have to edit it into slow motion when you go to edit. This is just for previewing. This icon here allows you to scroll through your video to find the key moments and see what's in your video there. And you can use the highlight tag to highlight those key moments. Also, if you're looking at a photo, you can double tap to zoom in. You can't pinch and zoom like you do on a phone. I hope they add that feature soon, but you can't do that yet. You just double tap, zoom in, and double tap, you can zoom back out. When you're done viewing the media, you can just swipe down from the top of the screen, or you can press the mode button on the side of the camera to escape out. And if you swipe down from the top of the screen, you can go into the dashboard and preferences. The first screen here gives you some icons that you can use to change different settings on your camera, as well as shows if your GPS is on and the time and date settings. So you can turn on and off voice control, you can turn on and off the beeps or change the volume. You can tap this bunny icon to use quick capture. You can also lock the screen so settings don't get changed, which is especially useful if you're in the water. You can use the grid icon, which helps for composing your shots. It'll just turn on a grid on your screen that overlays on. And this here is the settings for the front display screen, which if you go into that, you can change the options of what you want displayed on that front screen. This icon shows you a full zoomed in shot, so you're full screen there. It's not going to show you the actual video frame. If you select this next icon, it shows you what the video frame looks like, which is kind of more convenient for composing shots. And you can also set it so it just displays the settings, or you can turn it off completely if you don't need it and you want to save battery life. And then you can tap the check mark when you're happy with that setting. You can lock the orientation, so if you don't want to record vertical videos, just tap that and lock it in landscape, which is the sideways view. And you can also use this icon for the max lens. So if you got the max lens on there, you can use that to change the settings for the max lens. If you swipe over to the next screen, that's your connections and preferences. That's what you can use to connect to the GoPro app and set up your connections. And you can also go into the preferences menu to change some of the general camera preferences. Once you're done, you can swipe up from the bottom of the screen or tap the mode button on the side of the camera to escape out of that. When you're finished using the camera, hold down the mode button for 3 to 4 seconds and your camera will power off. Mounting your GoPro camera is one of the coolest features of these cameras because they can be mounted in places you can't really mount any other camera. So the Hero 9 Black only comes with a few mounting pieces, and you're definitely going to want to expand on this. This is called a buckle here. This is a thumb screw and a curved adhesive mount. To mount your camera, just fold down these mounting fingers on the back of your camera, and then you slide them into the grooves between the mounting buckle or also to some mounts. You line up the holes and insert the thumb screw. Sometimes you got to kind of wiggle the camera just to get those holes to line up, but once it goes through, it's easy to just push the thumb screw all the way in. If you're going out and filming something active, you want to tighten that thumb screw very tight so your camera doesn't move around. If you're using a buckle, you're going to slide it into a curved adhesive mount or another mounting plate that looks like this. So you just lift the black locking plug on the back and slide it in until it clicks into place. Then you push that black locking plug down and it'll lock your camera in that mount. So the one adhesive mount that comes with your camera is a curved adhesive mount. It's slightly curved on the bottom here. And this one is often used for helmets or curved surfaces. GoPro also makes a flat adhesive mount and a surfboard adhesive mount. There's other adhesive mounts you can use depending on what you're mounting to. Adhesive mounts are basically more permanent mounting solutions because once you remove this red liner, adhere the adhesive mount and let it cure for 24 to 48 hours, it's stuck on there really well and it usually won't come off. You just want to make sure that it's on a non-porous and non-flexible surface, and then you've got a really solid mounting position for your camera. You can also mount your camera directly to some mounts. This one, you just attach your camera directly using those mounting fingers to the mount. I really love this handle because it's extendable, so you can get more distance from your hand, and it also doubles as a tripod. So when you want to set the camera down, it's easy to set it down and have a nice secure location to film more stationary shots. So if you're taking your camera in the water, I recommend getting a floating handle like this one. When this is in the water, it just floats upside down with a little orange tab sticking out so you can see your camera easily. Now that you've got your Hero 9 Black all set up, go out there and test it out. Thanks so much for watching. I'm excited you've got yourself a Hero 9 Black, and I'm excited to see what kind of footage you create with it. Have fun out there GoProing, and until next time.